our favorite thing to say is no. I mean, we're not a yes man company. We're not going to say yes, yes, yes because we just want to book you. Best spots out there, the supply and demand. There is a low supply of those at last minute opportunities, and there's a high demand.
Welcome to the Built to Hunt podcast, brought to you by the team of hunt advisors at the Huntin Fool magazine, where we are dedicated to helping our members go on more hunts with better information. Join Huntin Fool today at huntinfool.com. Welcome to another Built to Hunt podcast. On today's podcast, I have the privilege of sitting next to Mr. Josh Harris, the CEO and founder of Huntin Fool Adventures, and Isaiah Joner, who has worked in our outfitting department now for many, many years. And we are going to talk about what HFA is, Huntin Fool Adventures. We're going to talk a little bit about how it came to be, the history, what it looks like from the point of view of an outfitter and a client, etc. And so I'll get us kicked off with a few questions. But for starters, I just want to say that we've had a few members that are wondering, why did we change from our old referral system into a full-service booking agency? And the truth of the matter was, we were taking thousands of inquiries a year for outfitted hunts, and the old referral system, we would basically hand them a handful of outfitters that we knew to be good. We'd vetted them. They were excellent operators. We knew they would have good results. Of course, we vetted the client too and asked for what the expectations were for the hunt. But then we would hand them off to the outfitter directly, and more often than not, in today's booking climate, they were full. And then the client would be frustrated that we sent them down sort of a dead-end tunnel, if you will, and then the outfitter would sort of re-refer, et cetera. It became kind of like a whack-a-mole experience. And so as, starting probably clear back around, 2019, 2018, somewhere in there is when we really started seeing outfitters get booked further and further in advance. So Josh has a ton of experience in this realm. He came to me, we met together. He said, he's successfully started a very successful booking agency business in the past and managed it. And he said, I'm excited to get back into the hunting industry again. Welcome aboard, buddy.
Thank you.
You're a glutton for punishment for sure. Anyway, and so with that said, that was kind of the groundwork that we put together to actually convert the referral system into a full service booking agency. And maybe let's start there, Josh. What does that look like? What's the difference between the two? Or more importantly, what does a booking agency do for the client and the outfitter?
Yeah, so that was probably one of the most exciting things that I perceived coming on board was, number one, being a part of a company that's been around for so dang long. I mean, since 1996, it's insane. And so the loyalty and the clientele base is there. And what it comes down to when it comes to the outfitter side of things is most outfitters are going to shoot you straight. Hopefully they all do. Those that don't shoot you straight, we don't endorse, right?
Right.
But most outfitters are going to do their best, rightfully so, to sell themselves and their opportunities that they provide. And the unbiased side of things is where we come in. So with HFA, we're able to work with outfitters across the globe, and we vet them properly, and then we fill the call from one of our clients, and then we figure out or perceive what their ultimate aspirations are, and we back them into opportunities that fit their needs with from an unbiased point of view, which is extremely critical because we have no desire to set clients up for or send them with an outfitter that doesn't fit what they actually want. So providing this opportunity for our clients, for Huntin Fool and Huntin Fool Adventures clients, is really what it comes down to, pairing them up with the outfitters correctly.
What's that vetting process look like for you guys? Between the two of you guys vet the majority of the outfitters. What does that process look like?
Yeah, so the best case scenario is that we've had boots on the ground. So a lot of us have been with a lot of outfitters, and so it's really easy to have to bring on an endorsed outfitter that you've been in the field with.
Sure.
But as far as the vetting process goes, it's quite intense, and sometimes it takes a long time. We start with references that are given to us from the outfitters, clients that have hunted with them or fished with them, whatever the service they provide, as well as talking to other outfitters that have worked with them, and then we do our own digging. Nowadays with technology, you can find out a lot about an outfitter. I mean, it's a really tight circle in this world, and everyone's got to step up their game, and they've got to deliver, or the world can know in one push of a button, right? So,
Sure.
So yeah, so it's it comes down to just them checking out. You know, we have our check boxes, and if they fit all that criteria, then we bring them on board, and they're held accountable too, as are we. We work together as a partnership. So.
Yeah, and to go with that too, I mean, with Huntin Fool being around for 25 plus years, a lot of our members have gone on guided hunts over the years, and they've provided, you know, valuable feedback with outfitters. And so, I mean, that's a big telltale right there that we can take past, you know, Huntin Fool client experience and, you know, get some more reviews in there on our outfitters that we work with. So, and I mean, a lot of these outfitters have been around for years and years, multi-generations. Like, you do see some guys switch hands fairly often, and that's usually a telltale sign that you might want to stay away.
That's a good point. Yeah, there's nothing better than word of mouth from one of us internally or credible resources, especially our clients. So, and that's good or bad, you know.
Yep.
It's really important for us to vet the outfitters properly, not only as a one-time thing to bring them in as an endorsed outfitter, but also to continually be vetting them, because life happens.
Yeah.
There's death, there's area changes, there's
divorce,
and it's huge. I mean, we on some levels we get personal, and we set it up, and outfitters know, and it's because our clients are of the utmost importance to us, and their priority, as are our outfitters.
Right.
So we respect both ends of the spectrum, and that's where we fall. Is we're here to help facilitate things on both ends and make it happen.
Sure.
So.
Well, and what I've seen too so far is like it's a very holistic approach to vetting an outfitter, because on one hand, you take a guy like me, I don't care if we sleep on the ground with, you know, canned refried beans for dinner every day or whatever else, right? Like, I don't care as long as the physical act of the hunting meets my expectations. On the other hand, you've got a lot of clients that want 5-star accommodations, etc. So, like, talk to me a little bit about like that holistic approach. Like, how do you go about talking to the outfitter, understanding all of that stuff from accommodations to experience?
Yeah, so we have a pretty intense back end to our software when we're loading up outfitters. After they've gone through the vetting process, then we get really granular with them. So to your point, those are key questions to ask when we're talking to clients. I mean, like you said, if you can hunt upper echelon animals, you'll sleep under the truck. You know, you'll just make sure your sleeping bag's waterproof and let it roll, right? So those are things that we definitely address with our clients. How important is accommodations? How important are meals? You know, on a physical scale, where do you fall, and shoot me straight? You know, don't tell me you're a 10 or you're gonna be a 10. Let's talk about.
Hey, try to keep the gloves up here. Sounds like you're aiming those bullets at me.
No, but I have been a part of experiences where outfitters they've called me or texted me just some smiley face emoji or the brain exploding or maybe some fire or something, and it's always what's going on, you know? And then when you talk to him, it's like, well, I know John said he was 280 and that he was going to trim back to 240 so we could go into the backcountry in one bush plane ride, but, you know, we're on number 3 now because he wintered well, you know. so it's definitely critical to be upfront and help us set you up properly, you know. So that's a huge thing. But back to setting up our outfitters, the back end of our software and the things that we collect from the outfitter on a per hunt basis, it's intense to the point where we have outfitters all the time that will say, do you really need all this stuff? And yeah, we do, because we need to know that. And so again, you're going to hear us repeat over and over. We've got to set our clients up and pair them properly, because it's time. I mean, nowadays, what's time worth? You know, your time away from your job, from your family, from all the obligations in life. And there's a lot of headache and heartache that can occur if you don't check all those boxes off, but that's our job. That's why people rely on us, and that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some guys have a misconception that we're just looking for clients to throw them with outfitters to get booked to make money off of it. But at the end of the day, like, that's That's not what it is. I mean, I never want a phone call on the back end of a hunt where a client had a terrible experience. And so we're going to do as much work on the front end to where we're asking them the right questions, making sure like, well, if this guy needs this or he doesn't want horses, then that outfitter's not going to be the appropriate pair, even though he might be one of the best outfitters for the unit. Like, you have to kind of make some workarounds and figure out what the best option is for both client and outfitter, because like I said, those calls on the back end of the hunt are not fun ones to take when you're getting an earful when you tried to be up front on the front end, and then some things weren't disclosed. And so, yeah, a lot of it just goes down to the little details, both on the outfitter and the client side.
Yeah, there's so much truth to that. I mean, just take into account personality.
Sure.
If you have a better feel for the personality of the outfitter or guide, because a lot of times we'll get as granular as that. Hey, who's going to guide this client? And if they can provide it, which isn't always the case, then we can back up and get into personalities, and we can even go a step deeper and pair them up properly, which is huge. But yeah, you hit one on the head there. That's a very important part.
Well, and you mentioned on the back end of the site on a per hunt basis. I think that's an important distinction to take a little bit further, because not only do we have operators or outfitters that have operations from, in some cases we have outfitters who have operations in Alaska all the way to Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. And so each of those operations is different. It's not like you're just going to book a hunt with that outfitter and expect the same things. And then the individual hunts within those geographic locations can be very, very different too, from a drop camp scenario to a lodge-based hunt, etc. So that's why we've put so much effort into the backside of the site and vetting those per hunt basis down, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what happens is in speaking with the outfitters, and no offense to you outfitters out there if you're listening, because it is what it is. Some get very detailed,
yep,
and some just don't.
Sure.
I mean, it's that text, hey, I just got a new hunt, I got a new area, this is what it is. We get 5 to 6 bullet points, and they don't understand that we need 96 more because before we can make a call, because those questions are going to come across to us. So on a per hunt basis, understanding all those variables, absolutely very, very critical, because they apply to each client individually.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, and one thing too, moving to the booking agency side of things, it's, it really helps us stay in contact more with those outfitters. Like in years past, with one or two of us running the referral program and literally thousands of calls and emails a year, like you couldn't keep up with, knowing what outfitter X, Y, and Z was doing or what he had open. And now we get to take it to a whole new personal level, because we need those details, because we're checking on availability and all that. Like it's more or less a daily thing where there's 4 or 5 of us constantly in contact with individuals and seeing them at the shows now. And it just turns into a whole new personal side of things with outfitters.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's definitely a moving target all the time. Trying to stay up on availability and what the outfitter's done between the last conversation we had and the one we had today. But that's why our team is what it is, and it's as big as it is, because we're doing our best to stay up on that. And most of these guys communicate. I think you can agree that they communicate real well with us when they know we're on board and we're helping them. That's the thing with these outfitters is it's the dollars always come. We're not doing this with money solely in mind. I mean, everybody has to run their business and make money, but if we do our job right, that does come. But working with outfitters and helping them accomplish what they need is really what this comes down to for me anyway. If just speaking from my point of view, is like we've got to do that. We've got to partner up with them, and then if they're in an area and we help them fill up their spots and they can no longer provide the available opportunities that we need, or the potential opportunities we need, then yeah, we will have to go to the next level and now bring in another outfitter in those areas. But yeah, for the most part, we're here to help all of our outfitters fill up their spots, and then hopefully they can avoid those dang outdoor shows and all those travel expenses and enjoy more time at home.
Yeah, I think you've pretty much answered one of my kind of questions over the last few paragraphs there, and that's basically, why would an outfitter want to work with us in the first place, right? Right now, the market for hunts is so hot, the demand is so high that generally speaking, we get a lot of, like some of the better hunts that we talk about, they're booked through like 2025. For reference, if you're listening to this podcast 2 years from now, it's currently 2023. So we're talking 2-3 years out, right? And so why would an outfitter, if the demand's that high, want to work with us? Maybe try to articulate that in a.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, I mean, there's 4 of us here in the office, full-time booking agents, and all day, every day, we're answering questions, talking to clients. Now, that's a lot of hours a week that, outfitters, I mean, outfitters are busy guys. A lot of them have, they're ranchers, they're contractors, they have other stuff going. Some of them, they're maintaining their 100 horses throughout the winter. Like,
yeah, seriously, that's no joke too.
They are busy people, and so
running trail cams.
Yeah, the
scouting.
more we can provide a service for them to help them. Like, that's our goal, is to, like, hey, let us take some of that burden off of you. You go do what you do well. Spend more time scouting, setting trail cameras, securing new leases, looking for sheds, finding new guides that are quality guides. Like, that's what we want them to focus on, and we can focus on what we do well. And that's, our admin team in the back that can put together all the booking documents and make sure, deposits are getting paid on time, and we're answering travel questions and trip insurance and permits. Yep. And like, we're here and available, where a lot of these outfitters too, they're just out of service a lot of times. And so we get that a lot. Like, hey, I haven't been able to get a hold of my outfitter for the last 2 weeks. It's like, well, he's in the field and he only has Wi-Fi service.
Yukon.
Yeah,
at the lodge, or he's on his inReach. So he's communicating with me, but he doesn't have time to communicate with each client individually. And so we're kind of that bridge. We want to provide that bridge on being the middleman that can help answer questions.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's huge. I mean, and what does a client want?
Sure.
Do you want your outfitter that's doing what they do best when you're there in the field with them? Do you want them to become an amazing office clerk, or do you want them to be a killer?
Do you want them to have calluses on their feet?
Yeah, exactly. That's the hard part. So we want both, right? As a client, we want both. We want the phone answered when we call, and that's where we're at as an office, to echo what Isaiah was saying. We believe it all starts here. I mean, it's we want all our outfitters to succeed during the good times and the bad times, and relationships are what it's all about. So we know that you can do exactly that with a booking agency like we have. And to Isaiah's point, we got a full team back there. So I tell people all the time, the joy of this is that 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, somebody's picking that phone up to answer your questions or facilitate your needs at the time, or at least get you going in the right direction, until the outfitter's available. That's huge. And we know that our outfitters are going to uphold our reputation. I never quit talking about the longevity of Huntin Fool, and one of those reasons outfitters want to pair up with us is because of our reputation. It's become a strength.
Sure.
I mean, we've been around so long, and our experiences, our resources, our community, it's positioned us as one of the industry leaders. And why wouldn't you pair yourself up with us? Our biggest desire is to field every call and have a resolution right now, but that's not reality.
Yeah, I've seen you jonesing and twitching when you don't have immediate answers for every client, Josh, which I love, exactly. By the way.
And and there's ebbs and flows. It's like post-show season, clients, it seems like that always slows down, and outfitters are still wanting to get their stuff filled up, and we want to help them fill that up. And it just is what it is, But our Huntin Fool's reputation's been earned through lots of hard-earned years and work, and our clients know that we're here for the long haul, and we're going to always put our best foot forward.
No, absolutely. Both of you guys have touched on the fact that in addition to the 4 booking agents in the office, we've got full-time staff that are going to pick up the phone Monday through Friday year-round. Because the difference with you two, or all 4 of the booking agency or agents, is that at some point in time you're going to be putting those boots on the ground in the field, vetting outfitters and experiencing on behalf of the client. So that's one thing that I think we bring to the table too, is that not only do you have this booking agent relationship that you have through most of the year, both from the outfitter and the client point of view, but we have a full-time customer service team who processes most of the bookings past a certain point anyway, so they're intimately familiar with the process, and you can pick up the phone and get a hold of them year-round. So with that said, let's transition over to that. We'll move away from outfitters. If you are an outfitter listening and you want to be a part of this, reach out to us.
Absolutely.
We would love to talk to you. On the other hand, let's talk about the client experience. What can I expect if I call in? Let's say hypothetically I'm going to call in and say, hey, I'm just really looking for a hunt, maybe a family hunt. Maybe I want to take one of my sons on a hunt or something like that. What is the process like?
We'd blacklist you right out of the gates.
DNR, do not resuscitate.
Go ahead.
Again, a lot of it comes down to communication, like really figuring out what you're looking for. Like I mentioned before, our goal is to provide you with the service that you're looking for. Like, we never want to misrepresent an outfitter or you in a hunt. So a lot of it right out of the gates is questions on, what are you looking for? Trophy, accommodations, physical ability, what type of experience. Is trophy most important, or is having just a good time? Like, do you want to shoot the biggest deer in the unit, or do you want to see lots of deer? So a lot of it's just those initial questions, figuring out how we can help you, team up with the right outfitter, and then we start to move through the actual outfitter process to where we'll reach out to outfitters on their behalf, kind of figure out what's going on. And then in some cases, like if the client still, if sometimes we might only have one option, or it might be the best option. Well, if there's cases where there's a couple options, we'll run both those through to the client. And then, if they want to talk to the outfitter at that point in time, we're not going to hold, our hand of cards and say, no, you can't do that. Like, we still want that connection. We still want them to feel comfortable. We still want them to feel involved in that process. So if they want to talk to the outfitter, we'll make that connection, let them kind of see, even personality, which outfitter is going to be a better personality fit for me. And then we start into the booking process from there.
Okay.
Yeah, those are really good points as well. So, talking about that connection with the outfitter, some people have that perception out there. I'll leave names out, that we because we represent our outfitters on our website with a number, and we do that because, again, it's good business. It's how we move forward. But as soon as we pick up the phone up, we're going to disclose who it is. Sure. Especially if you're calling us, you're obviously interested in something we provide. And back to those questions, those are critical. I mean, that's our job. We've got to understand, you want to hunt in North America or international? Those are the easy ones, but it's really truly, what are your trophy desires and your expectations? Sure. Because once we get through all those things, and what weapon do you want to hunt with? Because we have, if you're an avid archery hunter and you're going into the backcountry of the Yukon to hunt moose and caribou, do you want a guy that's only ever hunted with a rifle to be guiding you? No. Will somebody tell you, oh yeah, we got that covered? Probably. Because that could happen. Hopefully our outfitters don't do that, but I don't think they would, because they don't want that nightmare either. But my point is that we might have 20 different Yukon outfitters that we endorse, but for an archery hunter like yourself, in an example that we're talking about,
high fence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Like maybe in a state, and that actually is a reality too. Like, that's something for later, right? So yeah, that's really. But I mean, what it comes down to is us understanding exactly what you're after. Then once we perceive all of that, then we can move to the next step, and we can make calculated decisions. And sometimes we won't even suggest anything on the spot, because we've got to make calls to check on availability. And yeah, we do have options, but if they're not available, why should we go down those roads? Sure. But our favorite thing to say is no. I mean, we're not a yes man company. We're not going to say yes, yes, yes because we just want to book you. If it's a no, it's a no, because we want to underpromise and overdeliver, because everyone wins in those situations. So planning is key, and we've got the necessary tools to filter all that stuff to set you up right.
Right. So let's say I'm a client and we've gone through this process, and Isaiah here decides that he's going to book me with outfitter X. What does that look like from that point forward? What can I expect from a customer experience point of view once I said, yep, take my money, I'm gone?
So this is the huge peace of mind for me.
Okay.
So, and I think I can speak for us. So our admin team are rock stars. So it takes an amazing office to keep things rolling, and they're awesome. They're awesome to the point where maybe some of our guys aren't, they don't have next level high attention to detail. We'll just leave it at that. And these our admin team has they've experienced some patience testing on their behalf, but they know where to draw the line, and they hold us accountable as well, and that benefits all of our clients. So
Sure. Yep.
you give us the green light, and that triggers everything from that point all the way through the booking process to when even after you return off of your trip. So that you're sent everything electronically. There's a few clients out there that still like to do it old school, and we can do that. But maybe we just need to help you get an email set up if that's the case. So, but either way, everything's done electronically, and it's not just, hey, here's some paperwork, sign it, send it back with your money, and away we go. Our office is also sending out reminders in advance regarding deadlines, so that your payments are on time, because we know everyone's busy, as well as we send you some gear, and we have in-house people that are specialized in that are going to be reaching out to you saying, hey, you're going on a sheep hunt. Are you in shape? Do you need a connection for that? Do you have the right gear? This is a sheep hunt. This is a moose hunt. This is a wombat hunt somewhere. You know, what doesn't matter what it comes down to. We have our guys internally can suggest that gear, and then we actually provide it now too, which is awesome. So even a better service. And then, you know, sometimes what happens is we book a client through the process, and then we have the next guy that we actually connect with the outfitter, because we answered all the client's questions, but they still want to talk to the outfitter, and that's okay. Like Isaiah said, we want that anyway. And then what happens is accidentally the client books direct with the outfitter, and that's okay too. It's definitely not preferable, and it definitely throws a kink in our seamless process, but we can roll with it. But what's most important is we still back our clients into our process, because the communication along the journey allows us to make sure the client's bases are covered, even after you come home.
Your experience is going to be better by booking with a full-time customer service / booking agency that you can get a hold of all the time.
Absolutely.
Again,
Absolutely.
I don't want my outfitter sitting on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I want him looking for animals.
And when you come, I'll say this before I forget it. When you head out on your trip, the day you head out on your trip, our office is sending you a post-hunt or trip report for you to fill out when you return home. Mm-hmm. So you have that opportunity to let us know, hey, this is how it went down. And, you know, the story's always, the reality is always somewhere in the middle. Sometimes maybe it is one-sided, but the good thing about this whole process is we're here to not only support our outfitters, but our clients.
Yep.
Yeah. No, and take it a step further. I mean, like you said, with reminders, we sent out a trip packet. Nice folder, has a ton of information. If you booked an archery hunt, there's archery information in there. There's a fitness program. There's trip insurance options. I mean, if you're going internationally, like we have sending out reminders for get your passport, get it renewed if it's not. Like your driver's license needs to be up to date. You need gun permits for XYZ. Like there's all those little details. You need this form. You need these shots. Like it's a full service. I mean, that they're putting in the work to provide to you. So,
and we try to provide everything that we feel would be necessary. And the great thing about all of this is it, generally speaking, is at no additional cost.
Right.
So whether you book directly with the outfitter or through Huntin Fool Adventures, you're paying the same price. Right. So why would you settle for anything less?
Not adding more team to your experience.
Yeah. And an unbiased approach to backing you into the best situation possible for what you're looking for.
Right.
I mean, and it comes at no additional cost. Now, sometimes, it does cost more. I will never avoid that, because sometimes we have to put our best foot forward for the benefit of the clients and secure inventory in advance. And sometimes that takes paying more than what the going rate is.
Sure.
But it's never exacerbated. It's not some inflated crazy price.
It's nominal.
Yeah, it's justifiable to have the opportunity available. Otherwise, so you can wait 2 years then.
Yeah,
You know?
it's kind of like the toilet paper shortage during COVID. We've got a stockpile of toilet paper on your behalf, but it might, in rare cases, it might cost a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to ding you or sting you. I mean, that's one thing that's important to me is transparency. We're a membership-based organization. Huntin Fool has been from the very beginning. And membership means something to me. It means something to all of us. It's not just it's more like a club than anything else, right? So we're going to tell the truth. We're going to be transparent. And as it relates to HFA, the Huntin Fool Adventures, just to be transparent, you are paying us, not the outfitter. The money comes into us. We turn back around, wire it into the outfitter's account, and then we track your second, third deposits, et cetera, and do the same thing. So essentially, when you book a hunt with us, or with an outfitter X that you have recommended, you're booking it through us, literally in every way, shape, and form.
Yep, that's well put.
One thing I think speaks volumes too. I mean, over the hundreds and hundreds of hunts we've booked just in the last year and a half now, like on all the post-trip reports, like I think the biggest complaint we've had is communication with outfitter, like, or maybe a sleeping arrangement. We've had one or two instances where, we're no longer working with an outfitter just because we've had the same issue with the same person.
Right.
And so that's where it is important too at the end of your hunt, like whether it was awesome or it sucked, we want that feedback. Like usually no news is good news, but we want the good news. We want those photos, those experiences. How was the big one for me is not only how was your outfitter, but how was your guide, because they're really the ones that you're in the field with, you're, teaming up with. So we want to know, like, does this outfitter or his guides appropriate for what you're looking for? So, filling out that post-trip report, something we can't stress enough. I mean, it's how we're going to continue to build our platform in years, or, it's what we need.
Mm-hmm. And most of our outfitters, they don't sweat it. They're working with us anyway because they do a good job. They do what they do very well. So, but I mean, even our own trips. I mean, we don't just go into the field and come back from memory and take a couple notes and then, call it a day. I mean, I finished some hunts this last fall, and by the time I finished my report with the outfitter, which is a good outfitter, it was 5 pages.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was 5 pages.
You're almost as wordy as I am.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, some of them were like, hey, here's some cool things that I think we could do with you to offer even more opportunities because people just don't know, maybe they're only operating in one wheelhouse and they could be offering 3 or 4 different options and we know because we talk to so many clients that, hey, they would really like this stuff. And then there's the things that maybe the outfitter hasn't been privy to because he or she isn't with the outfitter or guides side by side all the time. He's assuming, and then we're bringing something to the table. In my experience, they're always positive experiences with the outfitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, very rarely will you get an outfitter that the hackles fly up on the back of his neck, he digs his heels in, and usually if that's the case, we probably don't want to work with him.
Right.
I would say most definitely wouldn't want to work with them if they don't want to improve. But outfitters are usually very grateful for those opportunities, and that's what we do. So we go, down to little things that make such a big difference. So
no, it's all in the details you can control. Like there are certain things outfitters can't control, but there are little details that, they may have been running their business for 5 years and they haven't even thought about it until Josh was like, hey, you could tweak this a little and it could improve the client's experience tenfold. Like it's just little things that, they might not think are a big deal, but it's a big deal to a lot of people. So.
And that's real common. That's a really good point. That's really, really common. I think that goes almost for anywhere too. Like if you don't have a pulse on your clients and the industry or experiences outside of your little world, you could get caught into a tailspin you don't even know you're caught in.
Sure.
And so having a cooler in the back of your truck with drinks in it, that sounds ridiculously easy, but you would be surprised. Like
what kind of drink?
Yeah, exactly.
Monsters.
Yeah,
Josh?
exactly. Whatever needs to wake them up in the morning, or the lunch, or the greeting. How did that go down when they showed up?
Sure.
Did they get a packet before they left? Just little things that go a long ways, and we don't look over them. And we pay attention to Isaiah's point. Like when those come back on a post hunt report, like we're communicating with the outfitter and helping them improve to increase our level of professionalism on all levels.
Which goes back to Huntin Fool being the membership meaning something. Help us help future members have great experiences, right? That's why we want those post-trip reports too, is because honestly we are a unique group, a unique membership, and any of that we can do to invest in a future hunt, somebody's going to take his kid on a great hunt, or a hunt that could be even greater if we get your feedback and can then pass that on in a consultant role to the outfitter.
Yeah. Even this last week, I talked to an outfitter who, it was wonderful. We worked out all the details, and the main reason for my original phone call was regarding 2 different clients, and both of them had experiences with him that they wish would have turned out differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't book them. But they know we endorse them.
Mm-hmm.
So the clients know that we endorse those outfitters, and they're like, hey, red flag. Like, if you guys are endorsing them and I had this experience, like, there's a red flag for me as a client. Okay. So we don't take that lightly either. So, I mean, I've conversed with those clients a bunch. I've conversed with the outfitter a bunch, and it's a little different type of territory because we're essentially out of the loop there, but we aren't.
Sure.
And the outfitter was really great. We resolved a lot of things, and those clients are now in contact with the outfitter to come up with a resolution, and that's what we're here for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of guys just want to be heard after a hunt. Like,
yep.
So many, I mean, the hunt's over, but they still, want the outfitter to say, hey, how'd your hunt go? How can I improve? Like, just little things like that can make I'll talk to guys who are like, oh man, I stewed on it for like 6 months just because I was pretty fired up after the hunt, and I didn't want my emotions to get in the way, but this is how it went down. And, nothing against the outfitter, but there's just little things they could do to make the hunt better, or, for future clients, and yada, yada, yada. So,
Sounds
yeah.
like my wife stewing on something for 6 months.
It doesn't end well when they chew on it that long.
No.
Like, that is not good. So please don't hold that back. But yeah, that's a good point.
I want to talk about lead times a little bit here. I think we're getting close to wrapping up, but let's move like literally geographically from Alaska to Canada, North America deer and let's talk mule deer and elk versus whitetails, and eventually Mexico. So when a client's wanting to book, so let's start in Alaska, an Alaska hunt, and we'll just work our way through that. Like, how many years in advance do you guys recommend based on inventory, availability, operators, etc. at this point?
It's really a lot to do with the species.
Okay.
I feel like, there might be an outfitter that he has Dall sheep, grizzly bear, moose, and caribou. The Dall sheep are likely going to be booked 2 to 3 years out.
Okay.
Moose 1 to 2 years. Right now, seems like a lot of outfitters have bear hunts, and a lot of that is because they can do volumes. They might only be able to do 2 to 3 sheep hunts, 7 or 8, moose hunts, but they can do 15 grizzly bear hunts.
Sure.
And so a lot of it just depends on the species at the end of the day. I feel like right now is what we're seeing. Like, whatever's kind of higher demand, or what they have the permitting for, or their numbers, especially in Canada and Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
Where
So you'd look at those two kind of as one and the same pretty much from a lead time point of view?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go back and connect this with those conversations when we're perceiving what you're after. So if you're a person that has the budget and your aspirations are high, and you're only going to settle for upper echelon animals, you have to prepare. The only time you're going to be able to jump on something is if your schedule allows it and it's a cancellation or a last minute type opportunity.
And your backpack needs to already be packed, and you need to be in shape.
100%. And but the best spots out there, the supply and demand, there is a low supply of those at a last minute opportunities, and there's a high demand. So booking it a year or two in advance for world-class moose in western Alaska, or to, as Isaiah said, Dall sheep, and then even more so, even nowadays, some do-it-yourself type hunts.
Like transported?
We're drop-off hunts where they're experiencing near 100% success on bull moose or caribou that are definitely above average. You're 2-3 years out.
Sure.
But it's okay, too. What you have to understand is, there's a chance the outfitter, who knows what could happen, but we're managing that process as well. So the good thing about planning it is you can pace yourself into some of these hunts where people have checked a lot of them off of their lists because they've turned out to be really expensive.
Right.
Just because as the world evolves, that's what's happening. But when you can pace yourself into something over a 2 or 3 year period, it's still doable.
Sure.
And we do that in our sleep. We can help you do that with our admin team and everything that we do in the booking process. But
I want to
go ahead.
I wouldn't even be afraid to, like, some guys think, oh, if an outfitter has an opening, they're not a good outfitter. Like, in some cases, yes, but in most cases with our outfitters, that's not the case. And what it comes down to is some outfitters are a lot better at marketing. They run a good social media. They have a good website. They've been working with us for a long time. Like, they have a good client base. They're going to shows. Well, there could be some other dude that has a phenomenal area, but his website hasn't been updated since 2012. He's not on social media. He doesn't go to shows. Like,
Absolutely.
and so he just doesn't have the reach that some of these other outfitters have, but he might have openings, and they're still a really good hunt. He might even be below market value just because he's old school and it's just the way he operates.
Absolutely.
And so it's letting us find those little diamonds in the rough where it's like, we want to keep this guy quiet because we don't want him to turn in.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the clients we work with that we've worked with repeatedly, they know that about us too. So it's always real flattering when you get a call that says like, hey, so-and-so told me that I just needed to call you.
Yeah.
Like, just because I can't find something out there doesn't mean that that doesn't exist.
That there isn't.
And we have so many relationships that we just I would definitely wouldn't count on that. But this whole topic in regards to booking in advance and stuff, it's not just the North Country though too. It's those premium spots in the lower 48 too.
Mule deer and elk specifically, it's just as bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's not getting any easier. I mean, you got to look too at the demand versus the supply. I mean, most hunts across the West require you to draw a tag. So in those areas that are, 1 or 2 points to draw, maybe, or there's guarantee tags, there's landowner tags, outfitter allocated, CWMU, those ones typically are staying booked up because clients know they don't have to wait, and so they're getting on the clients. They're calling us,
putting deposits down.
Yeah, they're getting deposits in.
Those hunts are also more expensive, generally speaking.
Typically,
too, right?
because
than a true random draw.
They're coming with the tag. Like you're bypassing years of the draw to buy a tag, so it's going to come at a significant upcharge.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is too, like, even just today alone, I've talked to 2 guys on the phone that thought they had enough points to draw in Colorado. Well, those units are going to a hybrid draw now.
Yep.
And so he's like, "Oh, I want to book here." I'm like, "Well, you could have last year, but now you can't."
Mm-hmm.
And you might not ever catch that unit now because mathematically the points are going to continue to spiral out of control. And there's clients we've worked with for years where I can look back and see over the last 3 to 4 years, back in our referral system where I've recommended them to the same outfitter year after year after year.
Just have never drawn the tag.
Well, or they haven't committed. But now they want to commit, but it might be too late. Like,
sure.
So in draw states, it's important to not wait around. When, no state is getting easier, they're all taking away non-resident opportunity slowly and slowly, it seems like. Prices have gone, nearly doubled for a lot of these species. Like, it's not like it was 3-4 years ago. So
is that true for whitetails as well? Again, I know it's true for mule deer and elk specifically, but as we start moving, same thing, like you need years in advance or
years.
Because, again, they have guaranteed tags, right? In most cases, those are outside of Kansas and Iowa. For the most part, we're talking over-the-counter or guaranteed tags. And so people are booking those spots and tying them up for years ahead, right?
Yeah, and the trophy's in the eye of the beholder. That's what it comes down to. So that's, again, we'll go back to what we do when we field those calls is if you want to hunt if you're happy with a 130 to 150 whitetail, we have lots of options.
Take my money.
and pretty much all we're going to be able to probably do that inside the calendar year that you're looking early in the calendar year. But if you're wanting the next level or you're wanting really coveted spots that are in high demand, definitely going to be a year out. And back to Isaiah's point too on the draws, like this is even for kids. Like you got to pull your crystal ball out and then just assume based on what's going on now, that it's not getting easier.
It's not going to get better.
No. So you got to pay to play, and paying to play. It's like I try to explain to my wife when she's looking at all these charges hit our credit card. I'm like, I've been telling her for years, but it's the same conversation that, what is all this? What about this? What about that? I'm like, honey, it's going back on there. Don't worry about it. So, but my point is that you kids have got to start early now too, because the opportunities are getting slimmer, and those are going to be the most affordable ways for people to hunt in the future for some of these things. So,
well, and I'll throw a little plug in for our license application department in that regard. We, for any client that comes on board and pays for us to do their license applications, we do their kids under 18 for free. We'll process as many as you have. We're from Utah, so some people have quite a few kids.
Yeah.
Austin Atkinson. But, yeah, we'll apply your kids under 18 for free. We understand the nuances of the draw, and in particular what it takes to get young people the best advantages out there. So I don't mean to derail, but that is an important point.
No, those are super fun calls to have, though. I mean, I just had one the other day with a really good friend I went hunting in Mexico with, and you would have thought I brought Christmas to the table again. When I finished explaining building, and here he is living in Utah and doesn't understand that, loves to hunt, and he's arrived at a point in his life where he has the budget now, and when he finally came to the realization of the opportunities, if he just makes that step forward of building points for he and his children, he was
super jacked.
Oh, next level. He was so excited. So I think it's fun.
Well, the one that we haven't talked about yet is Mexico. We're booking a pile of hunts in Mexico. I think we should talk about Mexico on two levels. One, again, lead time, but also talk somebody into going to Mexico who's scared to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
very valid. Very
issue.
valid. So first and foremost, Mexico is amazing. So I love that place almost as much as anywhere else that I've hunted, just because. Well, for multiple purposes. We work with a lot of really good outfitters that are residents of Mexico, but the majority of them in Sonora, as an example, they're Americans that operate Mexican operations down there. Mm-hmm. So they're running Mexican operations. They understand how to run a business. Most of them are operating in the United States as an outfitter and then going down there for the when everything's done up here, Mm-hmm. But Mexico's a wonderful place. You just have to go with the right outfitters that understand the process and that do it right.
Sure.
And you can get set up. You can you can go down there and pull the trigger on your own all you want, or you can call us and we'll help you just avoid all that headache. I mean, we could literally end Mexico right there because we field so many calls a year from people that booked hunts and then just had a nightmare because they were sold the goods, and there's a lot of variables that you can get caught up into. So, but Mexico, I understand that people get scared to go down to Mexico, but Mexico, it's nothing to be scared of. It really isn't. I've been there at least 30 times, and I have not had, other than a natural fire that happened one time. That's it. I have not had any issues. So. They don't want the issues that you hear on TV. I mean, they're much worse if you really dig into Chicago or wherever else. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's much worse than. But for some reason we get this perception there. But the opportunity for mule deer, coos deer, turkeys down in the Yucatan for rocket deer and ocellated turkeys, or over in Chihuahua and Coahuila for Carmel Mountain whitetail and coos deer, even free-ranging elk in some cases, desert sheep and aoudad. I mean, the list goes on. And the crazy thing is the opportunity is around every corner to kill a world-class animal.
Sure.
It's straight up amazing. The food, the ambiance, the people. If you haven't done it, you need to do it at least once. And and we're very selective. We don't work with a lot of people down there.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, we could definitely count on two hands how many people we work with down there. It's growing, but you have to be selective so you don't set people up for failure.
Yep. Well, one of the last points I'd talk about would be pricing, but to be perfectly honest, you're probably best off. I mean, you can always call us and window shop through the phone, right? We welcome that call all the time. Our website, you put a lot of work into the website, both of you guys, loading hunts, etc. You can kind of shop a wide range of prices and opportunities there too, as it relates to everything from Mexico to North American big game, etc. So as it relates to price, it's kind of all over the map, but a lot more expensive than it was a few years ago.
Yep. Yeah.
No, that's where I go back to don't wait. I mean, we get outfitters that tie up new leases and they have spots open up, or they get tags, or someone cancels, or whatever it is. Like, for those high demand hunts, those opportunities don't sit around long. Like, guys are like, oh, I'm going to take some time to think about it. Obviously, when you're making, a big financial decision, like, it's good to think about it, but don't think too long.
Yeah, it's gone.
Because those conversations are like, there's always like this weird feeling in those conversations. It's like,
I don't want to pressure you, but
if you're good, exactly, because we're not like ambulance chasers or salespeople.
Right.
We're just speaking the facts, and the facts are, if you wait around, don't be surprised that it's gone when you call me back, and that happens all the time.
Right.
The biggest one I've seen this year, I had a guy, he wanted to book a stone sheep hunt. I had him locked in for like $70,000. This was right before the shows. He was like, I'm going to have to think about it. We go to the shows. The hunts go to $85,000 and $89,000. And before, he was telling me, oh, it's on the verge of my budget. I was like, you need to book now. They're not getting any cheaper. And then he wanted to, and I had to go back to him and be like, well, now the outfitters are booked, and the price just went up $15,000. And that's just in a week because of the demand for those hunts. And so, like, if you see something you're interested in, it's in your budget, try not to think too long.
And yeah, absolutely. And then here's a little word of advice for everyone, which is going to be obvious for a lot of you, is if it looks, appears, sounds, smells, feels like it's too good to be true, it is.
Yeah.
Really, like, even to us, it just is. There's the occasional diamond out there that, and it usually applies because there's some twist in it.
It's a weird nuance.
Yeah, this only applies to a yoked out backpacking freakazoid that can go on a backpack only stone sheep hunt somewhere, and the price is $50,000 all in or something, but it's gonna work for 1% of the hunters, and then we're gonna back you into that instead of,
So we'd have to cancel Isaiah out of that.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
Josh was trying to get me to take out a HELOC to go on one this year.
It's really arrived at that point. It's pretty low interest. We should talk about that.
Josh is bad news. Watch out, everybody. He'll have your second mortgage plan in no time.
Unfortunately, though, somebody from Greenland told me at the show, you need to start investing in your soul, because it's the only thing you're going to take with you. So,
interesting.
Yeah, I took that to heart. Pitched it to my wife. She didn't really like it.
She's like, how about you invest in my soul?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good for the soul to be in the mountains.
Yeah. So, but the takeaways, I would say the takeaways, if we're at that point, from HFA, is we're a big game hunting, fishing, and outdoor booking agency. So we used to refer clients to outfitters and call it a day, and we don't do that anymore for all the reasons that we mentioned in the podcast. Our members and clients will now book their hunts or trips through Huntin Fool Adventures. Our outfitter database has been built and refined exclusively around outfitters that we trust and believe in and endorse. HFA is also an additional service that has been added to the lineup for our members at no additional cost. So It probably won't be that way all forever. I think we'll see how that goes, right? But right now, it's no additional cost. But our main focus is to assist all of our clients and advise you in finding the trip and the trophy and the experience that you're after. And our job is to take the guesswork out of it. And we're always going to do what we do without bias. So that's huge to the clients, to our clients, and we're not a middleman. So we don't get paid extra to book with you, to book through us. We're not getting paid extra to do what we do. So we have our process. We have our post hunt reports, and then Isaiah mentioned on just barely there at the end, like, one thing we didn't touch on a lot were cancellations and specials. Like, make sure you get on our list, and we have a specified opportunity there where you can go in and select exactly which species and types of information you want to receive from us. But if we get 4 cancellations for mule deer in a row, or for whatever it is, and you're on those lists, you might get 4 emails in a row 1 week.
Sure.
Because you told us you wanted to receive it.
Sure.
And then you might not hear from us for 3 weeks based on what you selected. But it's a great opportunity to capitalize on awesome opportunities.
Yep.
And we're doing hosted trips where Huntin Fool and Huntin Fool Adventures, we're all under the same roof. We're going with outfitters and it's an opportunity for our clients to go and hunt with us, which we get really excited about because we just don't get that opportunity. A lot of times it's just phone time and maybe a little show time, but
Sure.
great opportunity to go rub shoulders and do that. And yeah, I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I think that's an excellent wrap up. Isaiah, Josh, thank you both for joining. Had a great time learning more about HFA. We appreciate you out there listening and supporting us. Please subscribe to the podcast. And we all want to wish you the best of luck on all your hunts this fall.
Absolutely.